Jaylen Brown just tied Larry Bird's Celtic record of most consecutive 30-point games. And in the month of December, he's also led the NBA in scoring. And with Brown still being in his athletic prime at 29, while having a decade of NBA experience, we might currently be witnessing him at his peak. Now, so far this year, Brown has been doing his best and most consistent work in the mid-range. As of this recording, he's attempting 6.5 in-between jumpers per game, while making over 51%. The only guy across the league who's matching that volume and accuracy is Kevin Durant. When looking at exactly how Brown is creating these looks, it all comes down to him reading the floor and finding the open spots. And because he's currently playing in his 10th year, his patience and feel has never been better. Out of pick and roll, he can turn the corner and rise up for routine one-dribble pull-ups, or refuse a screen, put his man in jail, and find more space to elevate. That same feel also carries over while Brown's playing in isolation, where again he's great at both playing aggressive off the bounce, while simultaneously reading the floor. He's going at Jaime Jaquez here in transition, and as this extra help defender shifts down, look how Brown is going to move him off his spot by hesitating and turning, to then drop back down and flow into a step back. A big chunk of the Celtics offense is also designed to get Brown catches below the arc. And again, from these spots, I love his patience and flow. As he sets the screen here and pops out, look how he initially catches with this upright and casual posture, to then turn into an aggressive one-dribble pull-up. Off the bounce this year, Brown's strength is also at an all-time high, where he's been able to take these north to south driving angles, to then bump through contact and set up more in-between looks. Look how he's going to drive right into Nembhard's chest, and in one motion he absorbs his bump and immediately gathers into a right-left shot. A big improvement Jaylen's made over the years is being able to bump and separate going both right and left. In the past, it used to be only pull-ups going left and drives all the way to the basket going right. But while going to his strong right hand, he now has the balance and footwork to separate for jumpers. Another new element to Brown's mid-range game is him being able to create space after his pickup by either turning out and using that elevation, throwing up some shot fakes and attacking the defense's body, or using different pivots and step-throughs. So even if the defense guards him perfectly and gets him to pick up his dribble, there's then another layer of scoring that they have to deal with. So as an in-between scorer, Brown right now checks all the boxes. That 10 years of NBA experience has given him a good feel of the court. He's got the strength to play through contact. He can separate going both right and left. And even on the pickup, he's developed a multitude of ways to get a shot off. Now, obviously, when going over Jaylen Brown's scoring, we also have to talk about his slashing game. Kind of similar to his mid-range scoring, he's been great at reading the floor and picking the right spots to attack. First, he's really good at attacking momentum off the catch. If any bigs or mismatches are rotating out towards the perimeter, that's going to be an automatic blow-by. And from these spots, Jaylen also has a really good feel of leverage. Jake LaRavia on this play is closing out across his right side, so Brown's just going to attack back across to his left and glide to the rim. In the half court, Boston also likes to get Brown angles off the catch by having him work off simple pin downs and handoffs. And again, from these spots, he's very good at taking what the defense gives him. Cade Cunningham here gets hung up on the screen, so Brown just takes the open space in front of him. Josh Hart on this play shoots under and takes away the angle, so Brown just spins back over and attacks to his right.
Brown goes inside once again.
So along with Brown being able to attack off the catch and create breakdowns in the flow of the offense, the guy is also a real handful to deal with off a live dribble. First, the days of roasting him for not being able to go left are over. In the past 2 years, he's been more than comfortable driving, picking up, and finishing with that offhand. Andrew Nembhard here is trying to fight over and get back in front of the ball, but with that offhand, Brown can hold this driving line all the way to the rim. And at times, going left for him has been plan A. As he gets to switch off the screen here, he's going to go between and skip those feet up. The Jaylen Brown from 3 years ago would definitely explode to his right here, but look how he's going to transfer his weight to his outside foot, setting up this crossover back to his left. And then on the pickup here, he still gets to step through and finds that finish with his offhand. So Brown being able to explode both right and left, while having a sticky handle, gives him a lot of options off the bounce. He can organize his feet and dust the defense with straight line blow-bys, or use that footwork to string together combinations and shift the defense out of his frame. There's no nonsense with this move here. Brown is just going to build up momentum by hesitating and skipping off that left foot, to then replant it and push himself downhill. And while attacking the basket, Brown's strength also plays a big factor. If his initial drive gets walled off, he's got the control to simply stop and change direction. And again, these are all just simple, direct, and physical moves.
Brown.
I love his pace here, where he first attacks away from the screen, and as the help defense shifts down, watch him stop and lift up his chest, which moves them off their spot and gives him space to re-attack. I've also been a big fan of Brown's finishing in the paint this year. Obviously, him being able to extend with his left is a big deal, but overall, he's been great at playing physical and finding different angles. He can use that footwork to stride across and find soft finishes over length, or pick up and veer back into contact. And Brown's also been mixing in some different 2-foot pickups and finishes. Look how he's going to lower his shoulder and attack across the middle, to then stop on 2, throw up a head fake, and sneak this inside hand finish. We'll see him again here manipulate the help defense by briefly hesitating off the screen and getting them stuck in the mud, setting up this runway to the basket. And what's also been huge is that Brown has been finding ways to mix in both his slashing and pull-up game. He's great at using these sharp angles to open up the defensive stance, to then slam the brakes and separate. And many of these moves come back to that footwork and bounce, being able to use that handle to shift the defense out of his frame, to then plant and separate. The footwork on this move here is perfect, where Brown first attacks the top foot by going between, to then bring that back foot all the way across and flow into a step back. Another one of Brown's go-to moves has been the snatch back to his right, where he's again attacking hard downhill, then slams the brakes on that outside foot and brings the ball through. And again, the balance on moves like these is really tough. On this play, he's literally attacking the basket at full speed, but he's got the control to stop on a dime and give this defender whiplash. Now, all these tools that we've gone over from Brown's footwork, ball handling, and strength carry over to his scoring out in transition. When playing in the open court, Brown's explosiveness and depth of skill makes him one of the toughest covers in the league. First off the bounce, he's got the coordination and footwork to put together combinations without breaking stride. He can drop down into quick crossovers, hit punchy in and outs, while having some different change of pace moves in his bag. This move here is nasty. We're off the dribble here. Look how Brown's first going to gallop up, to then chop his feet and transfer right into a between. And just like that, he's at the rim elevating.
He gets in and slams it home.
When playing with momentum, Brown's also very good at leveraging that physicality. He can either attack right through the defense's frame and use those strides to extend into finishes, or turn his back and initiate post-ups. Watch him here make Andrew Nembhard look like a 5th grader with his drop step. So from a skill and shot creation standpoint, this is easily the very best version of Jaylen Brown. At age 29, he's still in his athletic prime, but then on top of that, he also has a decade of experience, which leads to him having this dynamic skill set, plus the feel of knowing when to pick his spots. Now, it's also important to note that Brown has been doing some damage from 3, but compared to his numbers in the mid-range and around the basket, the volume is kind of lower. But Brown's still very good at using these shots to keep the defense honest, because in general, the more he can pull coverages out towards the 3, easier it's going to be for him to unleash that scoring from below the arc. Now again, most of these shots naturally find him in the flow of the game. If the defense gives him any breathing room in transition, pick and roll, or isolation, he has no problem gathering and firing. And while Brown's pull-up shooting from 3 isn't really his main calling card, these are still looks that he can make at a high clip, especially if he has space and rhythm. One of his best shots, I think, is just a simple one-dribble pull-up off the screen, where if the big is sagged back in a deep drop, that's going to be an automatic 3 points. And kind of like what we saw with his mid-range game, Brown's very good at leveraging that off-the-dribble attacking to create space, by dropping his level to push the defense back, giving himself the airspace to elevate. Look how he gets Kuzma skating back with this pocket between. And as he gets his feet organized behind the line, notice how much space he has.
Doing his thing. Another.
When playing in isolation, Brown has also been uncorking some pretty dynamic step backs. And these are the kind of shots you take when your confidence is at an all-time high, especially with the full shot clock. Looks like these are just really tough to create and make, where Brown is skating out to his right, and going to his strong hand, he's going to flow into a sidestep. This shot here was also tough, where Brown's going to pound and separate off his left foot, and on his way up, watch him rotate and get his body angled to the rim. So as a scorer, this version of Jaylen Brown is checking all the boxes. He's putting up some of the best mid-range numbers across the league. The guy is still a superhuman slasher, and he's been picking the right spots on when to mix in his three-point shooting. But most importantly, I think Brown this year has had the right approach as a scorer. Most of the shots he gets are finding him in the flow of the game. It's lots of open looks and pick and roll, attacking rotations off the catch, and picking his spots to score in isolation when he has space. I think the combination of Brown's skill in shot making, along with him having a mature approach on when to look for a shot, is currently putting him in the conversation for one of the best scorers in the league.